Hey everyone! So today we're going to be talking about walkability in the context of urban design. We're going to be talking about the definition of walkability and sustainability, and walkability after COVID-19. So throughout the 21st century, urban design has shifted away from walkable cities and towards urban sprawls, so reorganizing the landscape of an area to benefit automobiles much before pedestrians. Modern urban life in developed countries promotes heavy use of fossil fuels by forcing us to commute by car to work, shop, and recreational areas, because oftentimes there's no other way. In order to design cities that are more environmentally sustainable, economically resilient, and healthier, walkability has to be the focus of the foundation. So, walkability is the foundation of a sustainable city, and it's increasingly being recognized as so. It's a concept known as a measurement of the pedestrian friendly degree of an area. So, that means the extent to which the built environment benefits the presence of people that are walking, living, shopping, visiting their friends or family, enjoying, or simply spending time in an area. Walkable means it's close, it's barrier free, safe, full of pedestrian infrastructure and destinations, upscale, leafy, or cosmopolitan. These elements are created by things like bigger street width, street connectivity, pedestrian crossings, number of lanes, distribution of facilities, and speed limits. So, some of the barriers to free movement that impede walkability are things like horse drawn streetcars, electric street guards, on grade elevated highways and railways, and super highways like this one. All of these do not benefit pedestrians at all. And when a city is not walkable, it pushes pedestrians to raised plazas and sterile pedestrian malls like this one. And nobody wants to walk there. So, to make a city more walkable, you have to offer a walk that is as good as a drive. Give people a reason to walk, one that is safe, comfortable, and interesting. So, some researchers have determined or defined a city's level of walkability based on the 5 Ds, so density, destination, design, diversity, and distance to transit, and others use the 5 Cs if it's connected, convivial, conspicuous, comfortable, and convenient, and qualifies as a place that is walkable. So, one of the important things to mention when it comes to walkability is safety. The safety of a community can be significantly increased by its level of walkability. A clear presence of pedestrians increases the awareness to them and it makes drivers more alert, whether it be to kids playing on the street or to cyclists. And improved safety for cyclists gives people an incentive to cycle, which takes even more cars off the street. So sometimes people will say, we don't have that many pedestrians in this area. We have a lot more automobiles, so let's invest in infrastructure that benefits automobiles, not improving walkability. But without accessible walking routes and nearby amenities, residents, of course, are going to use their cars. If you live in a place that looks like this, where it's either unsafe to walk, it's dark, lit, not properly lit areas, alleyways, or you're on streets where the cars are going way too fast, or like on the photo here on the bottom right, you have trees and staircases that impede your free movement as a pedestrian or a cyclist. So you're just going to say, you know what, I'm just going to drive. Um, One of the great examples of a walkable city is Portland. So Portland has been prioritizing their investments of time and money in walkability for years. And the amount of people that drive actually peaked in 1996. So that means despite the population increasing and more people moving there because it's such an attractive place to live, um, the amount that people drive has been going down ever since that time. So that's amazing. And in Portland, people drive 20% less than American cities. And they go by the idea called 20-minute living, which is created by this firm called Girding Enland. Um, and it means being able to access all of the things you really, really need within 20 minutes. So that means your grocery stores, your doctor, your dentist, pharmacies, transit, all within 20 minutes. So this is a great goal for cities to determine their level of walkability. There's also evidence that walkable neighborhoods have lower levels of crime and a greater sense of social cohesion because there are, quote, more eyes on the street and a greater chance that people in the street will know each other. There's some cities in the US especially, that you wouldn't even drive through because you feel they're unsafe. So you can imagine the level of safety needed to encourage people to walk. One of the great examples in Toronto, of course, is Yorkville, a great area that people um, want to just go walk in leisurely because it's such an attractive place to walk through. It hits a lot of those 5Ds and those 5Cs in terms of walkability and is ranked one of the most walkable neighborhoods in Toronto, along with the Bay Street Corridor, the beaches, the Annex, Rosedale, and Trinity Bellwoods. So all of the properties along here have great property value because of their walk score. And living in a place with a high walk score increases your property value. For example, Vancouver was actually ranked the top most walkable city in Canada. Go Vancouver at 79.8. And they're actually ranked in some of the charts worldwide in one of the most walkable cities worldwide. So that's amazing. Toronto isn't doing as great, although the downtown core is very walkable. There are areas in the GTA that are a lot more car dependent, like Markham and Vaughan, and they have walk scores of, like, as we see, 35, which is really bad. So Toronto needs to make some improvements. One of the great transformations in Toronto actually is the West Don Lands. So the West Don Lands used to be an industrial wasteland. Nobody's going to walk there. There's no reason to. It's unsafe. It's like, no, why would you walk there? And that was in 2002. And in 2014, they transformed it completely into a walkable neighborhood known now as Corktown Common near Regent Park. And it was based on affordable housing and flood control programs. And this is a great space for people to walk in. So it's crazy how much of a transformation can be done and improve the overall landscape of an area. So, when it comes to sustainability, urbanization and industrialization are the main causes of climate change. There are so many environmental benefits of a walkable city, and the way we live has created this growing dependence on automobiles where private cars become the norm. Everybody has a car, everybody drives in their car with nobody in the back. Um, and it's like this development of an unsustainable urbanites lifestyle that perpetuates the notion that walking is not for the elite, and people that are part of higher social classes take their cars everywhere, and people that don't walk, which is completely untrue. And oftentimes it just means that the spaces that are available are not attractive to that particular social class. Um, so as you can see here on the chart on the right, owning a car is right next to flying. So the most sustainable method of transportation is always going to be walking or cycling. And a walkable city reduces vehicle travels, congestion, noise, urban sprawls, and greenhouse gas emissions, which is the most important thing. Other benefits of a walkable city are increased social recreational activity, decreased level of social, economic, environmental stress. Walkability increases the quality of life of a city by improving psychological well being of a community, not to even mention the air quality. When there are less cars on the street, that changes. We can see it now during COVID-19. There are so many less cars on the street, and the air quality has been improving astronomically in so many different countries. Um, and so many studies have directly linked the quality of life in a city to its level of walkability. And there was actually a study in Toronto that found that people living in walkable neighborhoods across the GTA do more utilitarian walking, which is walking with a purpose, like walking to get your groceries, like walking to go pick up something. They drive less often and they have lower body weights than those who live in less walkable neighborhoods. So that is amazing. Walkability after COVID-19. So during this pandemic, it's become clearer than ever how cities prioritize cars much more than pedestrians and cyclists. A lot of cities are trying to open roads or have already done so, either closing one lane to allow people to social distance or properly social distance. and some are talking about closing entire streets. Again, some have already done this, and some are struggling with the leaders in the city to make these decisions because some argue that opening the streets will actually encourage people to gather, which isn't really true. Or some say they need them open for emergency services. So in cities like Toronto, they're having issues with getting leadership to take action on these things. Um, there was actually a article on Wired magazine that was talking about how the pandemic could be an opportunity to remake cities and make some of these changes permanent. So, opening more streets, having more space for pedestrians and cyclists. So, again, COVID-19 is really going to teach us how to redesign our cities. According to the United Nations, sustainable development is defined as development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So, walkability is a perfect example of sustainable development because it clearly meets the needs of the present and it's always going to meet the needs of the future. We're always going to need to walk, we're always going to be able to walk. So, if we want to create a more sustainable future and sustainable cities, walkability needs to be the focus. Thank you.